Listen to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence. Good morning, listeners and viewers. You are listening and viewing the Kingston Community Radio Wednesday morning radio show, and we're broadcasting live from our studios right here at 16 Lucas Avenue in Kingston, New York, and we would love to hear from you. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We've got this morning... Right now, I'm a solo here in the studio. Lawrence is in the control tower, expecting Fred Costello, Supervisor Town of Sorgady, shortly. And we've got Chief Egidio Tinti from the City of Kingston. He'll be our guest at 7:30. And then we have Michelle Hinchy joining us, I believe just virtually. I think she had to be in Albany this morning. And I know she just was instrumental in two very important bills that got passed. So I'm sure she's going to have a lot to talk about, as she always does. And again, if you have any questions, any concerns, whatever happens to be on your mind, whether it's to Chief Tinti, whether it's to Senator Hinchy, myself, when Fred gets here, please give us a call. 331-9255 is our call-in number. And WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund, an update that Lawrence just gave me. He has collected a little over $58,800. So there's still about $12,000 out there that was pledged. So please, if you made that pledge, please submit your payment. It's very easy to do. Mail your check to Kingston Community Radio, payable to Kingston Community Radio. P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. You can also pay electronically via Venmo. And if you just hop onto the KCR website or Facebook page, that electronic payment address is there. And I believe last week all the gift cards went out to...
Yep, last Thursday they all went out, even though we did a social worker forgot to submit a list, and that's what I was doing this morning. That's why I was a little late signing
but that's more important. That's more,
Well, it is. She forgot to send it in, and yeah, last Thursday everything went out. One social worker has yet to come and pick up her stuff from Family of Woodstock. She'll be here this morning at 9 o'clock. But yes, all the cards went out. And as far as I know, they're out spending it. I went to Target yesterday to get a Roku stick for my mom's TV, and there's a lot of stuff at Target. I was going to pick up a gallon of milk. I couldn't even get that.
Wow.
They had no milk. I mean, they had 2% and 1%. I didn't want that. I wanted, whole milk, but they didn't have any whole milk. But I noticed that a lot of the cupboards were bare. A lot of soda was gone. A lot of just frozen foods. Eggo waffles, just certain things were, people were out shopping, and
I'm continued to be amazed that with the supply chain issues and what types of supplies
shorts on again.
are hard to get.
They are.
And before we get off the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund, I also want to take this opportunity once again to thank the hundreds of those who made pledges to the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund. It was our most successful
Yeah,
in
the best year ever.
59-year history. I think I was saying the same last year, and hopefully I'm going
And
to be
we topped
saying
it again this year. Yeah, and
we're
hopefully
gonna
we'll be
saying
doing it next year.
in 2022.
On a different note, Greg, I don't know. In my car this morning, it said 26 degrees when I got in the car.
I left Sorgeties. It was 24.
Okay, apparently it wasn't in Fred's car because he's got shorts.
Now I guess in Glasgow it was 64.
He must
I
have
don't
the
know.
best heated seats in all of America. He must sit right down, and it's like sitting on a radiator.
Either that or he doesn't have any feelings in his legs, one or the other.
That
So
could be too.
Hey, I'm easy. I'm here. I can hear you guys.
Morning, Fred.
good morning, Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Sorgeties.
How you doing?
Oh, we are doing.
I mean, yesterday was a beautiful. What, did it get up to 48 yesterday? It was
Oh
very
no,
nice.
no. When I looked in the afternoon, we were at 53.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Well, not in Kingston. Maybe it was a little breezy. In
Well,
Kingston.
yeah, the real field temperatures. When you get that
No, I mean,
breeze
in the
this time
sun,
of
it
year,
probably felt like that.
Yeah,
I know. I wore my winter jacket to work yesterday, and when I went back to the office after lunch, I was like, I don't need this jacket anymore.
well, you're going to next week.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah.
Is that when the
well, I
show's
was
coming back?
Yeah,
But
but
we're
we
only
went out-
going to go back down to normal. I mean, this is above normal.
No, this is definitely. I can deal with a mild winter this year. you
Oh,
know.
so can I.
Yeah, I can. As much as as long as I get snow in the mountains.
Yes.
So I can go skiing, then I'm good.
Well, that's if I could control the weather, okay. If it's,
I know you want to.
my ideal winter, and I've said this before, let it snow up on the mountaintop, so that a lot of the small businesses up there rely on skiing, snow tubing, etc. Let it rain in the valleys, and then this way here, people who travel don't have any travel issues to get to the mountain to go skiing.
That's true. And you'll have less accidents.
Yes. And on Christmas Eve, when everybody should be home,
Then it can snow 2 feet.
let it snow. Not 2 feet.
You
No,
remember
no.
that one? What was it like? Oh God, it's got to be at least almost 20 years ago. Remember that one Christmas? It started snowing on the beginning of New Year. It started snowing on Christmas Eve, and it didn't stop until after like the 26th. It snowed for 2 full days. We got
I
like
do
2
remember
feet of
that
snow.
because unfortunately it was not.
No, it was a pain in the ass to
It was
clean
not.
it up.
It was not a good Christmas, and I always, when it really sucks when you do get snow.
Yeah.
on,
When's the last time we've had a white Christmas? Can you guys remember? I can't even remember. Last year it was
can't put a
pretty,
finger on it.
not warm, but it was.
Well, last year we had. I think there was
Well, in
snow.
December. Remember the Green Bay game last year, or that? Oh no, that was before COVID.
December.
Remember the
5th
weather last year?
December 15th. Well, I remember it real well because that's when I did the stupid thing and screwed up my shoulder. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We had a fairly heavy snowstorm, but then it warmed up. But I think there was snow on the ground for
For Christmas Day?
yeah,
Christmas Day?
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost want to look back at my pictures on my phone and see.
Looking at the weather right now, it doesn't seem to be. I'm going to my last and final Giant game of the year on Sunday, and me and Cam were going over the menu last night, and I was like, oh, Cam's like, oh, the weather looks nice. I'm like, we've been to 7 games already. We've got, besides the Dolphin game where we were sweating our tush off because it was, you would have loved it because it was 90. But every Giant game we've been to this year at Giant Stadium or at MetLife, the weather's been relatively good. Even the Raider game, I mean, we've had good.
Yeah,
they've
the
been
Raider
playing
game-
like crap.
The Raider game was
But the weather has been absolutely beautiful. So we went and looked at the weather. 37 degrees, sunny. So that, now depending on how the wind is, 37 in the Meadowlands, if the wind is blowing 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, that 37 degrees is not 37 degrees.
and
That's
I've
more
said-
like 20 degrees.
I've said this time and time again into many people. When they forecast a high temperature in the summer months, let's say they forecast a temperature high of 90 degrees. That 90 degrees could extend for 3, 4, 5 hours. they say a high of 37 or a high
Right.
of 55.
Those are
this
peak.
time of
That's
the
the
year.
peak time of the day.
Yeah,
right.
it could be for 5 minutes.
Right, it could be for
half
like-
an hour.
Right.
you know.
Well, yesterday when you said, "Oh, it got up to 53," I must have missed that on my phone. I saw 48. I mean, it was nice. I had the window open for a second. I mean, but I looked at some of the temperatures. We're supposed to get some rain later today, right? Or going?
Yeah, just some light showers, nothing substantial.
I
A
guess
little
it's
bit more
better than
on Saturday.
Yeah, I
but,
guess it's better than snow. But I would imagine once January rolls around, these 48 and 50-degree days are going to be gone. So we might as well enjoy them, right, Fred?
Yeah. You never know, though.
No, you never know. Look at the snow drought that Denver had, and then out west, and now some places are getting close to 8 feet.
Yeah.
Not 8 inches, 8 feet. You know,
In a weird way, I mean, you have to be careful what you wish for, but I'm so happy for them because a couple months ago we were talking about the drought.
Yeah.
And it looked
Right.
like there wasn't
That's
going to
true.
be any water at all.
Yep.
So
Yeah, this is definitely good because there's certainly going to be a lot of snow melt, and hopefully it eases it some for them out there because they got a tough situation. But we are, and then we talk about this all the time, and this past weekend was a good example of how. We'll get a heavy snowstorm. We might get an occasional twister or a tornado. But boy, you look at the devastation in Kentucky and those other states, and it is very heartbreaking. And to see those scenes, we've got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are everybody doing today?
We are doing. How are you doing, George?
Very good. For people who are interested, a couple local golf courses opened back up for this week because the temperatures got
was that warm? That's pretty funny.
Like Green Acres right here in Kingston opened back up from 11 to 4. And I also heard Apple Greens reopened this week as well.
Wow.
Yeah, because they couldn't let these nice few warm days we had this week go by. So anybody interested in golfing, like I know Rick Remsnyder likes it, but it's still going to be a little bit too cold for Rick.
Did you go out?
I'm planning on going out tomorrow.
Good for you.
Tomorrow's supposed to be the high day around 50, 55, 58. I was going to go Tuesday, but with a little bit of wind, it was just too cold.
Yeah. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be the warmest. In fact, you're saying we could touch 60.
Yes, which is nice. And, remember last year, we was able to play golf to about December the 13th, and on December 15th to 16th, we started the year off with a 15-inch snowstorm.
Yeah, I just commented on that. I do remember that. That date I won't forget.
Mm-hmm. And then it was just about all gone by Christmas morning, too.
Yeah, I remembered it warmed up, and I think the only thing that really was on the ground was the snow piles, snowbanks.
Right.
I think most of it had
left us by
disappeared.
then. But another thing that's going on this weekend, Sunday, is American Legion Post 1748 in Lake Katrine is having a free ham dinner for all veterans and their families. A couple of weeks ago, they put on a free turkey dinner for all veterans and their families.
Cool.
Show up from 1 to 6 on Sunday. And they did a fantastic job with that, and I expect no less than another fantastic job with this one this coming Sunday from 1 until 6.
That's awesome, and what's even more awesome, and I'm sure you get them, Fred, from Mark. I always botch his last name up, so I'm not even going to attempt to
Cosavali?
Yes, yeah, very good, George. Very good. Yeah, I think you pronounced it spot on. I get the emails from him, and he sends out a lot of emails.
Yes, he does.
And the events that are out there for veterans that don't cost anything. So
Right.
I mean, it's great to see. We've always had in Ulster County an active veterans administration. I think it's more active than ever.
Yeah,
I agree.
And Mark certainly he took Steve Massey's place.
Which left big shoes to fill.
Yes, left.
Right, yeah.
Mark's had the
he's a
challenge of
fantastic
COVID,
gentleman.
too.
And also on the 18th is this month is coming Saturday at 12 o'clock after they get done with the wreaths across America down at the Newport Golf Course. The Newport Cemetery. They're going to be doing the groundbreaking for the Walk of Honor that the Ulster County American Legion Riders Chapter 1298 is going to be putting in down there.
Nice.
It's a quiet walk where people could walk and meditate around the graves of their loved ones and stuff that were veterans that's down there. That takes place this coming Saturday as well. So, and but no, I know, Mark. I deal with them with the Newport Veteran Cemetery. I keep track of the cemetery account, and in the week before Memorial Day and right after Labor Day, Veterans Day, our post here in the town of Soapers, we put up all the flags and we take them all down, the ones that we can get out after they swell up by rain. But, so hey, you guys do a great job, and it's been fantastic listening to you guys all year. I'll be listening to you next Wednesday as well. But if I don't call in next Wednesday, I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas and a safe and healthy and happy New Year. You guys are fantastic gentlemen.
Thanks, George. We appreciate
that. Thanks for the help when we was at Adams. Our post ended up pulling in a little bit over $4,300 for a raffle, and after paying out our prices, we made about $3,200 in the raffle this year.
Wow, congratulations.
Great.
So,
super.
Hey, it was great work. You guys have a great day, and good luck with all your guests coming in and everything, and I'll be listening. So enjoy the day, gentlemen.
Okay, and yeah, be sure to give us a little buzz next week. It'll be a couple days before Christmas. Hard to believe that, but always great hearing from you. You have yourself an awesome day.
Yep, have a great day, everybody.
And George touched upon the Wreaths of America, so I think that's a good lead-in to our announcement here.
Okay. So we have all are invited Wreaths across America. Sorgy's VFW Post 5034 is sponsoring a bus trip to Saratoga National Cemetery. To remember the fallen, honor those who serve, teach our children the value of freedom by placing wreaths on grave sites. This event takes place on Saturday, December 18th, 2021. It is $15 per person. The bus will leave from the Greco Center at 10 a.m. and return approximately 5 p.m. We will have a cash lunch stop, and if anybody's interested in purchasing additional wreaths, those will be $15 a piece also, and any checks will be made payable to the Sorgy's VFW Post 5034, P.O. Box 152, Sorgy's, New York 12477. For anyone with questions, they could contact Bob Howe at 845-246-8510. Don't say I should have, say that I did. So that's a nice annual event that they've organized. I still
For many years.
I can't say that I did yet.
For many years.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So.
And after a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, the Sorgady Sports Hall of Fame will resume their tradition of honoring those who have made a significant impact on Sorgady sports history. 59th year, the Hall of Fame in Sorgady's has been in existence come 2022, and the induction banquet will take place on Saturday, April the 9th at Diamond Mills with a cocktail ingredient hour from 5:30 to 6:30, followed by dinner and induction ceremonies at 6:30 p.m. Again, that's at the Diamond Mills, 25 South Petition Street in Sorgady's. And the 2022 inductees who have been waiting in the wings now for 2 years include Pat Caffrey, Jay Dodick, Mark Herb, along with Steve Ener Martin and Jimmy Spears posthumously. All are invited to come out and celebrate the achievements of this year's inductees and be part of the great Sorgady's institution and tradition. Tickets still remain at a very, very reasonable price of $30, and they can be purchased by contacting Mike Hasenbog at MikeHasenbalg@yahoo.com. Telephone is 914-388-2348. And you can also visit the Sorgady Sports Hall of Fame Facebook page for more details on ticket sales and payment options, including electronic payment options.
At that event, we're going to double up. We'll be honoring the past nominees that did not get the opportunity, plus the new.
No, we're just going to stay with the 5 because, as it is, some years, some individuals go on with very, very long speeches. Okay, and we just felt that to have 10 or even, I suppose we could have cut it down, but it was the consensus of the officers that make up the Saugerty Sports Hall of Fame that we would keep it as is. Sometimes some of these events will get too long and too drawn out, and then it takes away from the classiness, I guess you would say, of the event.
Yeah, and I guess you could have augmented it by limiting the times of the speeches, but then
we've tried that. And it's very, very hard. You've been in that position,
Yes.
especially recently,
Yes.
where you put a 3-minute time limit on speakers, and then you're put in a tough position that you shouldn't have to be put in, because when you hit that bong or the alarm, the individual should be respectful of that. They should be respectful of other people waiting in the wings to speak, and especially when there's a hot topic. And I'm not talking Hall of Fame. I'm talking board meetings, and I'm sure it's the same in any other community. And unfortunately, some people will just go on and repeat themselves to further try to justify what they're saying.
You're right on, Greg. It's a difficult situation. However, when folks don't honor that, you are actually, in many cases, stealing time from someone else. And, there's a limited amount of time where people are willing to participate and pay attention. And when we have an event where there is a lot of speakers or a lot of comment or a lot of interest, it's important that we balance that so that everybody gets a fair opportunity to express themselves. And I don't think, some folks have a quick thought and they can express it quickly. Other folks have a more lengthy offering, and we want to accommodate the best we can, but we can't do it at the expense of others. So it's a tough balancing act.
It is.
It really is. Monday night, you were on with us. That was a challenge. And,
Yeah. I didn't stay for the whole thing,
Yeah.
but I was on for a good portion of it.
The panel that we had was terrific. Those 3 individuals come from very diverse backgrounds in the cannabis industry, and they have a depth of knowledge that has been immensely beneficial for me, and I could confidently say Mayor Murphy and the rest of our respective boards, in trying to consider how our response should look, knowing that cannabis has now been legalized. So this is and they've done it in other states, and they've done it in areas where planning was not anticipated, and there was mad rushes and lines and not a lot of success stories. So we're trying to document all the challenges that those communities faced when they went through what we're about to go through, and try to make it as successful as we can for our friends and neighbors, and also allow this in an area where it's least disruptive. And the retail centers and Saugerties are, we all know what they are, where they are, what they look like. And I think if this is going to happen, that is the place for it to happen. It shouldn't be out of someone's garage or someone's basement where it's out of sight, where the opportunity to distribute it to younger folks would present itself, or traffic problems would present themselves. So we're trying to be mindful of everybody's concerns, and we're trying to use the opportunity that the legalization law gave us to zone it into areas where it's most appropriate, away from religious institutions and away from schools and away from places where young folks congregate. So it's an interesting challenge. But those folks were terrific and very beneficial, and I was grateful to them. And coming from the medical side of it, Martha speaks so fluently and understands that well, and has a really good perspective on the recreational component. Ruben, who is from Saugerties and chose to move back here, oddly in time to have this dialogue with us, has cannabis interests across the country and in Canada, and his experience, mostly as a grower of cannabis, was I think useful, and he sees what successful retail looks like and what it doesn't look like. So we've been able to extract that knowledge from him and develop an understanding of what leads to successful relationships and what doesn't. And he was great. And Mr. Holland has been an attorney working on this issue for most of his career as an attorney, and the historical perspective he brings to it, and the perspective on legalization, what the law represented, what it is, and how it impacts local communities, I think is very helpful to us as community leaders, but I know for Chief as the law enforcement official who's going to have to meet this challenge, it's been very helpful to him as well. So it's tremendous to have those resources, and the idea that they took time out of their schedules to meet with our residents, I can't say thank you enough. It was great. So,
Well, you're certainly doing it the right way. You know, you just mentioned at the onset that, you know, in some communities, they didn't take the time to do the planning and,
it's a challenge though.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a sensitivity about it. It's legal. However, it's not welcome in everybody's mind. So,
Right.
and that's probably an understatement. So, but you know, our residents who want to do this and want to do it lawfully and probably have been doing it for a long time, now that it's legal, should have the right to purchase product that is safe, that is not going to be laced with fentanyl or some other nefarious chemical that could cause bodily harm or unfortunately even death, and use it hopefully responsibly as adults. So we'll see how we do. But that is another. I really just wanted to say thank you to those guys. And when George was on with us, I wanted to also congratulate Senator Henchy. She put together. Were you there for that? For the veterans workshop she put together?
no. I
Oh
was
my
not.
God!
No.
What a tremendous job. She had vendors from the Department of Labor to
Well, that was last Thursday, right?
at our senior center. It was incredible, and they had about 30 veterans show up, which they were happy with. That was a good number. But for folks that may know a veteran or a veteran who is in need, when you see she's going to do it again, and when she does it, there's all the resources you could possibly imagine are there. And they have representatives who can direct you towards services that may be beneficial from the VA, Department of Labor, the Sheriff's Office. They just had it all. It was impressive, and I was actually blown away. I knew it was a pretty substantial event, but when I walked into our senior center, it was set up basically resembling a job fair, and each service had a table and representatives of that organization there, and they were engaged and talked to veterans, and I learned a lot about what's out there just for the short amount of time that I spent there. I was really impressed.
I wish I could have stopped in. I had intentions of popping in, but the day just builds and builds and
I know.
builds. And,
I struggled to make time to go, and I made it, and I'm so glad I did, because it was really, really impressive. And of course, our local Legion and VFW were very well represented, and those guys they're the best.
Yeah,
They never
They nail it.
every time.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. They come up with
And before we get to the bottom of the hour, I just want to extend congratulations and hats off to Bob Circasano and his team and the children's, the First Responders Children's Foundation, along with all the EMS fire departments that took place in the toy giveaway this past Sunday. It was either Bob or Chief Sinagra had said to me that there's not going to be as many toys this year to give away because of the supply chain issues. Well, in my mind, there were more toys that they gave away, and a lot of children. And then on top of that, Macy went out and bought 528 pairs of what's the real go-to sneaker all the youth look for. Well,
shop off the discount rack. I don't know.
that's why I don't know. All right, so we're at the.
That was tremendous too.
It was,
right?
yeah,
What
you were
a-
there. You
yeah,
were
what
there
an
a couple
uplifting
times, and,
experience. And we unboxed how many box trucks?
Oh my God! I never used. I went through 3 box cutters. One split open on me. The other, the blade went dull. I didn't have time to change it, and then cutting up all the boxes on top of it. So we are at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
This is Greg Chorvis, and once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Rondout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at the Kiwanis Ice Arena in Sorgenes. Thank you very much, and have a happy and Merry Christmas.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org, produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
And Joel Konowski.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, viewers and listeners who were with us the first half hour. Those just joining us, welcome. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We have got Police Chief from the City of Kingston, Jid Tinty.
Good morning.
And his Lieutenant, Cliff Tremper. And this is going to be your last appearance here.
Yeah.
I understand. And Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Sorgan.
Hey, Fred, how you doing?
I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget him. Anybody else? Anybody else under the table? Run around.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to pull the plug, and last Friday will be my last day in the police department.
Well, your last retirement, your date is actually January.
Yes, January 8th is my last day employed by the city. My last working day is this Friday. I'm going to burn some vacation time and get into the new year and try to figure out what's next. So,
congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
How many years did you serve?
I was with KPD for 33. I actually graduated the police academy 35 years ago this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, nice milestones.
Yeah. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I still do enjoy. I look forward to getting up every day and putting it on and getting into work. It's just it's time. All the old timers say you'll know when it's time. You'll know when it's time, and I recognize that it's time for me to pick it up and move.
Yeah. All right, good for you.
Try something else.
And you should leave when you still enjoy it.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave and have a bad taste.
I don't want to be disgruntled. I don't want to be angry or mad or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so it makes it a little harder, but it's right. So
yeah, I didn't want him screaming and cursing at me as he's walking out the door with his plant. So.
Well, I didn't say I wasn't going to do that.
But
just hold on. You still got 2 days to go.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you from my perspective. I'll let Cliff kind of fill in the blanks on it. So when I came on in '92, he was already working, and you weren't detective yet, right? You got promoted in '95.
'93, I was detective.
'93. Yeah. So he was a well-known, well-respected street cop, and I remember coming on, and guys would say, "Man, if you get the opportunity, you got to work with like these two guys. They're like street cops, like real good street cops." And there was a bunch of them. I don't want to leave anybody's name out, but the two that stood out at that time, he said, Joel Kalinowski. If you can get to work with Joel Kalinowski, and Cliff Tremper. Those two guys, I mean, they rock and roll, right? Harry Waltman, Jim Grable, all those guys. I mean, they are all hardworking cops, right? But the two names that guys kept saying to me, man, if you could work with those two guys, they get it, right? They see something, they act on it, they're sharp on it, and I never really got to work side by side with you on the street.
No, you were on a different shift than I was, and
I did work side by side with Joe, very short time period, because he also got promoted around that same time period. But I wasn't disappointed. There were things that Joe did that were definitely old school cop that would apply today. You know, so he got the job done. You know, so and but I did hear the stories, and even when you got promoted to detective, man, you were like lighting the place on. I mean, it was a good squad back then, right?
Yeah.
But from a cop's perspective, the squad was kind of off limits. You know, I'm not pulling punches, right?
Nope.
I mean, the way even the building
sacred ground.
You went down a hallway and it came to a T. You either went to the locker room or you went to the detective division. And you turned that to the left to go to the detective division.
You better have been invited.
Somebody is waiting at that door going, what do you want? Like, it was like one of those secret squirrel clubs type of thing. And yeah, you were invited. That's right. Yep, exactly.
It was pretty honorable, yeah.
Yeah. And it was, 5 or 6 desks for 8 to 10 people, you know, like everybody shared a desk, and, you know, they changed their name tag out at the end of the shift kind of thing, right? That's how it was.
Exactly.
And, so it was different, but you did it all, didn't you?
Yeah, it was fun, you know, because like I said before, I got to try every corner of the pool. I did uniform, I did detective, I did supervisor, I did, you know, investigations, special investigations. It's been fun. There's not a part of it that I didn't like.
I'll say there's parts of it he didn't like. So when I got promoted to chief, there were obviously some promotional opportunities. A bunch of the senior lieutenants at the time, Doug Gaston, Jim Brooks, John Schatzel, they all retired. And so there was a couple of opportunities.
Because they knew what was coming.
And I think the one thing that I remember having a discussion with Cliff about what he wanted out of all this was he always looked forward to being a patrol lieutenant, somebody that oversaw the patrol division, and because he liked to keep his hand in doing what's considered to be police work. And unfortunately, the needle moved away from that over the last few years. And
necessary.
It had to, right? I mean, once you reach sergeant, is still got one foot on patrol and maybe a step or two into administration and management. Lieutenant, you're definitely 70% management at that point, you know, administration and policy development and oversight and scheduling and paperwork, and you're not really doing true police work anymore. It's different. And every so often, you know, I'd be in my office doing paperwork, and I'd hear Cliff call out on the radio, and I'm like, didn't I just give him the assignment about going over the reports? And I hear him like, could you send a unit to such and such? I'm out at that location. I'm like, what's he doing out there? Like, but you still got it in you, right?
Yeah, that's something you can't get rid of. I've tried. It's in your soul. You got to have that one foot on the street all the time. But I tried to phase back, and I did actually. I phased back a lot. But
that's an observation I make with pretty much everybody who really likes the job. Yeah. They like that part of the job more than anything else, and the administrative side of it kind of just sucks the life out of you and bogs you down. But
what I enjoyed the most was getting out and, you know, seeing the people in the community and the people I've known for 33 years here and worked with, and, you know, even some of the people I've chased around in the old days. You know, now we have good social interactions and.
And what's the key to that? What did you tell me before? A long time ago, you said to me, a long time, 10 years ago.
Treat people with dignity, you know, no matter what.
Doesn't matter what they do. They may have done a bad thing. Doesn't necessarily make them bad people, right? We know that there's bad people that do bad things. But then there's you said to me, as long as you treat them with respect, even if they don't deserve it, you treat them with respect. And
it does come back around because they remember, everybody remembers how they're treated by anybody else. And, you know, if I'm thinking, Fred dissed me or did me wrong, you're wrong with me forever, or until you do something that brings me back around.
Yeah, it's true.
But if you do it the right way, right from the beginning, you don't have to
make those apologies.
Worry about who you turned off. So that's been a big thing too, and I learned that from Joe Klinowski, Gary Brooks, the old timers. Those were the two that taught me everything, along with everybody that I worked with. It's when we worked together, we almost always worked double cars back then, and that was a good time because you were able to pick each other's minds about how you do different things and make better decisions, and that was always a good thing too.
And that's something that we struggle with. When I first came on, there was crime was pretty much at an all-time high. I'd like to say, it was bad. And so we took drastic measures. We separated the double cars and essentially created, 6 or 7 solo patrols out in Kingston. But one of the unintended consequences that occurred is the camaraderie that normally the banter that would occur, right? Hey, bro, how's it going at the house? Everything fine? Yeah, I worked on this thing. Or, what about that sergeant, right? We got to go, that. And there was that talking back and forth, and that doesn't happen today. We went back to it, right? We decided we actually going to, forego some of the visible presence more so for that part, because that is a big key component to, at least for us, city policing, all right? But it was an unintended consequence that I didn't predict. It was definitely, the only time they really were in the cars together at any point during that couple of year period was field training.
Yeah.
Once the officer was cut loose from the FTO program, she got their own car, and that was the end of it. So,
but both methods have their benefits. The solo cars, you have more coverage. You have 6 cars on the street in 6 different places rather than 3. But then with the 3 cars, you got the two person patrols. There's benefits to that too. So it's
and disadvantages, right? If we're going to talk about it, you might be partnered up that night with a guy who doesn't want to do anything. Oh man, now we're just gonna. Oh yeah, and he's senior now. He's driving. You can't even hey kid, if there's any chasing, you're going to be doing it.
Yep.
Right? Remember that? Yeah. So it was just different back then, and not better, it's just different. And everybody has good times. The squad that are out there today has good times, right? And we just had a nice awards banquet to recognize them after many years of not having one, and it came together. There was a lot of camaraderie there, and the mayor and one of the commissioners, Don Mapes, attended. It was well received by everyone there. And, I know the cops don't do it for those events, for the recognition. But when events occur that go above and beyond what you would normally consider a police response. We even had awards for a civilian response to life saving. So it does help. And but, when you got 32 plus years on the job, and like you said, you've been on every corner of the pool, investigations, long-term investigations, undercover wires.
that was
right.
Wiretaps was that was a good time.
yeah. Not really. Not administratively, they're not.
No. As a supervisor now, I look at them and think, ooh.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't want to oversee that.
I remember every time they'd come to me, listen, the possibility of I'm like, oh no.
Consumes so many resources.
Unbelievable. There's a benefit to them, but during that time period, it creates such a vacuum within it. And then the rest of the public calls and says, well, what about my street? I have this guy. There's a parking issue. And you don't have the resources to address that because they're tied up on doing something else, So
to make that information useful, you have to have all the supporting documentation that you did it with warrants. And you didn't violate anybody's rights. And
a lot of I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed.
And that's okay, but for an agency our size, we're not large, we're not small, we're kind of right in the middle of being considered both, and it's not right. You got to, I imagine an agency with extra manpower, that's great. But
one of those out there.
I was just going to say, does that
anymore? There isn't.
Does that exist?
Look bad. When I came on, I'm like, holy cow! Look at that, 23,000 residents. They got 120 cops. That's crazy, right? But it's just the different system how they do that, right? And the resources, like everything else. When you're, the mayor just released the budget, got approved by the council, and when you've got garbage pickup, paid fire, parks and rec, and everybody getting a slice of that pie, and it's hard, And the police department, as most jurisdictions, is the largest slice of that, and look at what they're paying for the cops. Look what they're paying for the cops. Yes. And if it were up to me, I'd give them more. It's just the way it is.
And then on top of that, a big slice of the pie is the unfunded mandates.
Oh yeah,
that come down.
Absolutely, whether contractual or whether they're, like you said, state mandated. And so I should have brought it with us. We just talked about it on the way up the stairs, and he's got a poster, a little 8 by 8.5 by 11 sheet that he printed. And if you can kind of close your eyes and imagine, there's Woody from Toy Story standing there, and Buzz Lightyear. And Buzz Lightyear has his arm around Woody, and he's pointing his arm up to the sky.
With a big smile.
Big smile. And go ahead, you finish.
It's saying how you feel when your boss is telling you what he just got you into, or the great idea he just got you into. And he's pointing up, and Woody's standing there like, oh, no. And it's so applicable. So I put a list of all the things that he came up with since we started this show, and it's quite a list.
Oh, yeah. I'd come back from meetings and trainings, and I'd say, listen, you're not going to believe this is great. Now, it's not going to be a lot of work
I'm going to make you famous.
But I'm telling you right now, bro. So the one thing he keeps bringing up, and I like to say we joke about it, but it was one of the Facebook pages when we started the KPD Facebook page. Here's a Freeman or Times where Cliff is sitting at my desk on the computer, and I'm standing over the top of him.
Smiling.
It's a B-roll type of picture, and smiling about it, and looking back.
It was about how the Kingston Police Department is going to this new networking technology.
Social media, woo!
It's going to be the wave of the future.
11, here we come. And so after that was, but unfortunately, as I mentioned before, you have a guy who really was a well-respected, well-known street cop within the department. Not just in Kingston, but all around Kingston. Everybody knew him. Because it wouldn't be uncommon for you to come in I normally worked the 4 to 12 shift, come in at 3 o'clock and hear that Cliff had a foot pursuit and hurt himself.
Yeah. They had a special file cabinet for me at the workman's comp office.
Yeah, twist his ankle, pop his shoulder, elbow, whatever. Well, you had a bunch of them, right?
Yep, both shoulders, all kinds of. Yeah, it's all part of the fun, though.
Yeah, all part of it, right? The chasing part of it, and but I think it was a struggle for me because one, he's not because he's saying it, but he's staying here, being here, but he's more than capable. Once he gets his mind on it, no better. You couldn't assign it to somebody better, right? He is in it. However, I won't lie to you and tell you the cell wasn't hard sometimes.
Yeah, and a lot of times I had to close my eyes and swallow hard and just say, and know that it's, it has to be done, so I might as well do it the right way.
Yeah, I could tell it got too much for him sometimes because he'd blow a gasket, and that's not like you. You don't. No. You're usually, even if you have disagreements, and we've had our share, right? Mm-hmm. Different views, different approaches. We'll come in, we'll talk about it, and at the end of the day, he might have convinced me to do it different. I might have convinced him to do it different, or we might have met in the middle. And that's the way it really should be, right? The management part of it. But there were times, and there were a couple of times, boy, you were just like, at these meetings. And I'm like,
sometimes you got to provide therapy.
All right, I'm going to back off the accelerator pedal on this a little bit.
But let me ask you this, Cliff. Was you blowing your stack as a result of him blowing his?
No.
It was just the pressure, right? It's a certain point, I just kept tightening. I say tightening the vice, but really kind of just loading them at these meetings. Because if you want to get something done the right way, give it to a busy person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was some of my frustration because I knew there was other people that could be asked, but you knew that it wouldn't get done.
It wouldn't get done. And from my perspective, I say it was easier. I knew it would get done right if he did it. And there was a time period. Now we have, he's responsible currently for a lot of things, but the 8 to 4 shift as far as patrol. Lieutenant Osterhout is responsible for the 4 to 12, and then Lieutenant Pat Bono is responsible for the midnight shift because we've had recent promotions. But there was a time period where he was the only patrol lieutenant. So he was responsible for all 50-plus people on patrol, including the sergeants. And admittedly, I held him responsible for all 3 shifts, all 9 sergeants. And so I'd say to him, what happened last night on the midnight shift? Right now, he's walking in at 6 o'clock in the morning like I am. I'm like, bro, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? You're the patrol lieutenant. Can you find out what's going on with the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll find out right away.
Yeah, there were a couple of times he came in and again, organization, right? He was known for his organization. He'd come in and he'd have a notepad for everything he was working on. Everything, if it was, all that list of stuff with the Woody and Buzz Light, he had pads.
Notepad for each assignment.
Topic. If it
That's
was,
how you organize?
Oh, yeah. Intimate partner violence, command staff meetings, detective division issues. I mean, anything that was a new thing, he would have a pad for. So if I'd go downstairs, I'd go, where'd we leave off? We were going to do that initiative uptown. And he's like, hold on a second. He'd open his drawer, he'd pull out this notepad, and he'd flip through it and be by date. I mean, like I said, the organizational capability that he displayed was, there's very few down there that have it, and as an administrator, you value that because there may be other supervisors, lieutenants, sergeants, but to have that capability to be able to call him up and go, hey, listen, remember that we had something happen in December 2 years ago? And he's like, hold on. Yep, go back. Oh, yeah, that was John. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right, John, right? And he would be able to pull it up and just, like I said, that's a lot. You don't see that. I don't have that capability.
No, I don't have that.
I have one pad that I go through for the day, right? And I'm like, and I put the date on it, and then all of a sudden, by the end of the time, I rip the pad off, put my bubble gum in it, throw it in the garbage, and forget what the hell happened. So, but I have good people. So, that's the first thing I tell you is when you get a boss, right? You got to find a replacement. You got to find people that you can trust to surround yourself with, and if you're going to be driving the bus, you got to know who's on that bus with you. And Cliff has been.
You're only as good and successful as your team makes you.
Yeah,
It's true.
It's absolutely true. But I have admittedly, and I will use this opportunity to publicly apologize to him for tightening the vice on him every chance I got, But yeah, there was a couple of times I'm like,
Boy,
what?
now it's all coming out.
I'm just going to loosen it up a little bit. Oh, he knows.
Like it, I mean,
I'd apologize.
Like it or not, I did recognize the need for things to get done all along the way, and I knew that he always said he had good intentions for every single thing that he dumped on me. So,
and there were a couple of times where you would say, I can't do it. He'd say to me, listen, I can't do it. I can do it. I can get it. I just can't do it. There's too much. And he would start to go, and I'm like, oh, Cliff, you know what? You're right. I'll take care of it, bro. I'm sorry. You're right. You're just. And then 2 days later, he'd come upstairs and listen. I've been thinking about it. I'll do it, but this other thing that I'm working on. Can you give that to somebody else? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So even now, right, with the patrol division, we recognize that the one thing that we needed more than anything else before he leaves is for him to go into our evidence room and do a full cleaning or purging of evidence that is no longer required for us to maintain. So, and that's what he's been doing, right? You've go in there, you check on the shift, and then you're back in that room, which is a daunting and overwhelming task at times.
It's like eating an elephant. That's the
last
time. Last time I think it was 2016. 15 or 16. You asked me to do it, and went back there, and I came home and told my wife. I said, "How do you eat an elephant?" And she said, "One spoonful at a time."
One bite at a time.
So you got going back in there and looked at rather than looking at the elephant, I looked at the little spoonfuls, each box of evidence, each sheet of evidence that's in each box.
Yeah, there's binders of evidence sheets, binders and binders for every year. It's not just one binder for 2019. There's 4 or 5 binders, and there's drugs, guns, money, physical evidence, small evidence, big evidence, right? There's all sorts of things, tires and rims and bottles and knives and ammunition and everything's got to be accounted for, so.
Now, as time is going on, are you able to document those probably tens of thousands of documents electronically, or still in the police field
They're still in the paper phase right now because you need to have, it has to be done the same way by everybody. And then, even if it's electronic, if you don't have the paper document there somewhere, and
so the paper document is still.
I think it's still necessary, but we've had discussions about that, trying to figure out what's best.
We're trying to move to barcode or scan capability where you enter the evidence, it prints out a code, a label, you put it on the evidence, it's sealed, and the processing of the evidence really hasn't changed over the years. It's the filing of the evidence, and then when there's evidence that has to be delivered to a lab to be examined, whether it's blood related or forensics for a case, and we have really Officer Jerry Marion, Officer Ed Schumann. Those guys are also evidence custodians, but we recognize that Cliff has the ability to kind of look through the sheets. But just the purging component of it, you've got to go back, find out what the court disposition was on it, and then determine, do they need it? Is there an appeal? Do we have to leave it on the shelf? Can it be destroyed? How does it get destroyed? I mean, we've got a lot of firearms that now have to be destroyed, and we usually just take them to a shear and cut the receivers in half and throw it away. Melt them down somewhere. Somebody takes them, but they're no longer serviceable weapons, and drugs have to be burned.
The tediousness and the precision of how that's handled is pretty extraordinary.
And that is why it has to take somebody like him. And I know there's others there. We just don't have the capability to pull them up yet. But there are those that we watch for, right? Like I said, once you get promoted to a position of supervision or management, they always tell you, one of the first things is find your replacement. Always find your replacement. Who's going to be your guy? If you've been doing this and you're now going to do that, who's going to do your job? And you have to find somebody that you trust. Got to be. And is capable. It's not just trust anymore, it's capability. So when you look at it and you say, okay, this guy is a good guy for doing this part of the evidence, but this takes a lot of digging, right? The precision of going through and going, wait a minute, there's 2 boxes here, and there's one extra item in the bag, and this is in plastic, it should have been in paper, and right, just you talk about putting the guns into 55-gallon drums in order to take them to the shear to destroy them, or drugs being burned and incinerated, and it's a lot.
I just filled one 55-gallon drum with long guns yesterday, and there's probably enough long guns to fill 2 or 3 more 55-gallon drums.
And as a gun guy,
how big is this? Your evidence?
It used to be the detective division.
That's where the detectives were. That room is, and it's all shelves from floor to ceiling, aisles in the center, just enough, really. The separation between the shelves is enough so you can carry a box in between. And there's other places in the department underneath the stairwells where we've had DPW actually weld steel plate with locks because the larger physical evidence
and
long-term storage doesn't fit. We can't get it through the door. It's amazing.
We had to do the same thing for our local PD up in the second floor of the warehouse.
It's and
just
today,
imagine
today with discovery but evidence handling itself really hasn't changed. And again, if you're looking from the procedural part of it, an officer recovers evidence at the scene, whether it's a detective or officer, but they recover at the scene. They've got to secure it there, bring it into headquarters, process it, and lock it up. Once it's locked up, they no longer have access to that evidence. Only the evidence custodians can have access to it. The officer's out of the picture completely. So now the DA's office says, I want to examine that firearm, or I want to examine the tire, the tire iron, whatever that was used, and you got to come down, coordinate with the evidence custodian, and we administratively have no keys to any of this. There's certain locks, and every time anything changes, new locks get put in. All right, because as an accredited agency, one of the things, high liability aspects, is the evidence. So that's why it does take a special kind of person to actually be so detailed oriented that when you look at stuff like your notes, he was showing me what he was doing the other day as we were going through some of the stuff, and he says, in case there's an audit, which there always is, he says, here's what I got. Here's the notes. Here's what I finished. Here's a company sheet that's stapled together. And I said, wow, you fill that entire book up. And he looked, he goes, and those. And it's like, I'm like, holy cow. Yeah. And you've only done the 2 years, right? The 2 years we're able to do.
Yeah.
So in another year from now, he's got it, you won't.
That's probably why he's retiring. We're at the top of the hour. It's time for a break, and we'll be back in a few.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer? The Drug Facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the Drug Facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/Drug Facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, I'm Ruth Quick from Town of Ulster. I support Kingston Community Radio, and you should too.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Liam Engel.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, viewers and listeners that have been with us. Those just joining us, 331-9255 is our call-in number.
Hanson was yesterday.
We have got in the studio here, Police Chief from the City of Kingston, Jid Tinty, his Lieutenant, Cliff Tremper, and Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do not have a birthday.
We do not have birthdays.
We have Sergeant Liam Engel on the Kingston Police Department. Today is his birthday.
Well, who was supposed to send that in?
Yeah.
I don't know who I assigned that to.
That's part of his assignment.
I don't know who I assigned that to.
Being this is the last time you're going to be on the show, we do have to ring the bell. But having said that, you know, if there's a day you're a little bored, you got some time on your hands, just pop in. Last week, Bob Nuzzo popped in from
is that right?
out of nowhere. He took over the chair, he took over the mic, and it was just like
time on my hands is something I'll probably have for a while because I'm just jumping.
Yeah, you're going to be. I talk to so many people that retire, and I'm talking people that retire and remain active, not people that retire and do absolutely nothing. They don't know how they had the time to work.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do something. I just don't know what yet. I'm jumping and see where I land, and then I'll figure it. If it fits good, then I'll wear it.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, you have to. You know, you have to. And I've said this. I don't know how many times. People who retire and do nothing, the next thing you're either reading about them in the obituaries or you're. Yeah. You know, there is, and you know, you just can't when you're just so active in life and enjoy life. Just shut it off. I mean, I don't know how I don't think I could do it. Throttle back, yes, of course. But to shut it off?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do Monday when I wake up. It's,
We're going to be in our command staff meeting where all the lieutenants are there. And we'll all look over at the empty chair.
So now, not to put you on the spot, Who's his replacement?
Well, there's a couple of people on the
At your-
promotional list. Yeah,
at
so
your
I got to
looking
tell you,
at? Okay.
the difficulty we're having right now isn't so much the promotional part of it. We have great candidates and good officers and ultimately sergeants that'll get promoted because we also have, in addition to the Cliff spot as patrol lieutenant, we also have a detective lieutenant's position that's open as well. So when Brian Robertson retired not that long ago. So
I didn't even know he retired. Wow.
yeah, Brian retired. He's currently working for the district attorney's office. He still has his hand in it, right? So, but he retired.
He lived to
so-
breathe it too.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes, he did.
It's more. He's one of those guys. I mean, we went to the academy together. He was hired a year before I was, and did most of that undercover, a couple
Yep.
months undercover. And I think you work with him.
Yeah, that was kind of a segue when I went into detectives, working with him and doing the undercover buys. And he was really into it. He was very successful. And he was always into the surreptitious nature of the investigations and stuff. So that was always his forte.
I feel like he spent more than the average amount of time in doing that.
Yeah, I think he was only in uniform for a very short time.
Yeah, I think he had. So he came on in '91. Him and I went to the academy '92 at Norm Good. He was out, got promoted to detective in '95 because he was put on the team at the, I think, beginning of the year. Him and I remember we worked both blizzards, '93 and '94 together. Back then in the old Isuzu Trooper.
Yep.
No Mark Carl. We had chains on the old Crown Vics, but they were no good in
You're not gonna
blizzards.
move in a blizzard,
So we
yeah.
picked whatever we could find in the fleet, and we got stuck with the Isuzu Trooper standard transmission. We'd pull up to people's houses and, with ski masks on. It was blizzard conditions, but yeah, we got the job.
Okay, we're law enforcement.
Yeah, knock on the door, people like,
We're gonna do you
we're
harm."
calling the cops on. We
We
are the cops. So, but yeah, so it's interesting, but we've struggled, and Cliff's been a huge part of that for many years about just the hiring process, right? I mean, interviewing candidates.
Yeah.
And there was an article in the paper about when I was addressing it with the council, but it is a struggle today to get qualified candidates. And I shouldn't say that. There are qualified candidates out there, but they can pick and choose who they want to work for now, right? I mean, it's with us, and we have limitations. We don't have part-time. We really are bound by the rules of civil service. So an individual has to go through everything, and we just hired 9 people about a month and a half ago, and they're just finishing up polygraph, and a number of them have just withdrawn their application for consideration.
I'm just curious. And I've been meaning to ask you on a couple occasions, but sometimes it's tough to get a word in. You've never had like a part-time call-out list or part-time officers?
Never. Kingston is full-time civil. The only thing we have part-time there is CSEA clerks and part-time dispatchers. That's it. Everything else is full-time. So our officers, all 74 of them now, are full-time civil servants. That's it.
Do you ever run into situations, occasions where you're unable to cover a shift?
Yes. We have to manage-
Very often lately.
Lately, it's been worse, but we're starting to come out of it a little bit because we are replacing bodies. But yeah, we went through this past 2 years between the COVID issues and manning. We had quite a few people resign, retire. When all this police reform happened, we had one officer send me an email and said, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm out."
Wow.
Just like that. Really, just thank you, but no thank you.
And you never looked into the benefits of?
Yeah, so part of it is a union contract issue. Obviously, the union has to weigh in on it. 2, I don't know. I would have to really do a lot of research on part-time. I don't know of any other city, as far as a city municipality, that uses part-time officers.
Oh, no fool.
No, yeah, they have reserve officers. They have, all these auxiliary cops, traffic stuff, limited application, but no. So, and I'm not trying to, I guess I don't know enough about it, but city police work, I think, in a part-time capacity, minimally would have to be regulated by so many hours a week. You could not, in my opinion, do effective city police work
On a part-time basis, yeah.
You just couldn't do it.
Well, I'm also thinking like, all the events. I see what, Chief Sinagra up in Sorgeties with, and there's, geez, how many officers that are retired, and I saw Donnie Tucker actually working the.
A couple of our guys are up there that retired from our job and working part-time up there.
So I guess we have a little bit more flexibility, but 4th of July, there's a lot of traffic posts that have to be staffed for the fireworks and during the parade. So you have basically 12 hours of activity, and we only have 23 people total.
Right.
So if we can't push that staff out for those events, you just can't do it. You can't make everybody work 12 hours. Then who's going to cover the next shift? And
Well, you also have to have your road patrol, just like Garlic Festival.
There's gonna
That's a
be-
2-day event, and
same thing.
Yeah.
And car show, and we have a regular beat of those. So it's without that part-time capacity, we wouldn't be able to properly staff those.
Yeah,
So- but it's a challenge administratively because if you're going to put that badge on someone and they're going to give them a weapon and they use it, they better have been trained. They better have been certified. It's all of it goes really quick. So it's
our guys were handling 2 domestics a shift. Depends on the shift, but about average 4 to 5 domestics a day is what we're handling, right? And I'd say domestics, but any incidents that intimate partner violence related and domestic incidents. And now you have a part-time officer come in that may handle 1 a week, where our officers are handling multiple ones a day. So the familiarity of handling those type of calls, which are traditionally high liability calls. The emotions are running high, people are agitated, there may be children involved, and it's a lot, and so we've looked at increasing, and the mayor was great about this, adding additional clerical personnel to help out with that. And I think that's where, if we could free up officers from some administrative duties, now I'm not talking about management administrative, but paperwork administrative. This discovery mandate now has been crippling to our agency, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely crippling. I cannot tell you how ridiculous, and this is where I can feel the veins starting to go. And
you did pretty good, though. We've been on 40 minutes. You haven't really done that yet.
Yeah, because the elected officials that decided to do this without any input from the ground, people on the ground, just put this out there and said, here you go. Why didn't they fund it with positions or change it to a county? I know the DA's office was lucky to get additional funding through the county for that, but we just don't have that capability within the city. And I imagine every agency is struggling to do the same thing.
We're taking our best officers who do the best paperwork and have that capacity, and basically they're reassigned to doing discovery to make sure that we get those cases in on time. Otherwise, that arrest is worth it.
I have no issues with them protecting the rights of the individuals accused of committing the crimes. None at all. Good. But on the back end of it, they go, here you go. Get it done. Without any additional resources.
Unfunded
mandates.
Unfunded mandates.
I think the frustrating part for the law enforcement I deal with is they still plea it. So we went through this whole
All
thing
this
as though it's
nonsense
going to
for-
trial.
But now
there's a plea, and you're like, well,
All that
now
work
they
was
get to
for.
see the hand. Right now they get to see the hand early on and go, oh yeah, I think I'll
plea.
take this to trial,
Yeah.
right? So, and again, I only oversee it, right? From my position, I just kind of look at the chessboard, but he's stuck with it, right? How many times do you have to go upstairs to speak to some of the clerical, and we have a great clerical staff. I mean, I'm telling you, like, they are hard workers. They come in,
they're top notch.
on it. They're on the computer. There's no downtime. You don't see them, drinking coffee at the water fountain, whatever the term is. They just don't do it. They are workers.
And a lot of their work is getting stacked up on the side because they're being consumed with this.
Body cam footage, mobile dash cams, lobby cameras, everything with that.
Phone calls, radio transmissions.
It's unbelievable. And our IT department is 3 strong. Kyle, Joel, and then the new individuals that's working there, and just trying to get his feet underneath them. And plus, in addition to everything else, right, the networking capability, the mobile data systems we have in these cars, not to mention the printers and copiers and fax machines and all the technology that we've gotten today. Right now we're struggling because one of the main scheduling softwares that we use has a vulnerability, not so much affecting us right now, but at the company, the main headquarters. And for them, they're saying, hey, you better have a backup plan in case this thing goes complete zero failure. So we're looking at each other going, it was a struggle to pull the paper out of the hands actual physical paper scheduling out of the hands of individuals, including yourself, right? We all went kicking and screaming. And now we've adopted it and it's become second nature. We look on the schedule, we see all this stuff, no problem, okay. And now for them to say, tomorrow morning, that might not work for you anymore. And there's no backup. Like, we're scrambling now to redraw the schedules so we have something in case there's a complete catastrophic failure. Yeah. So amazing to me, right? I mean, and again, if anyone out there, elected official-wise at the state level, is listening to this show, I plead with you to introduce some sort of a bill or mechanism to standardize law enforcement reporting from the top down. There is no reason for Kingston, Saugerties, Ulster to have their own records management system. There's no reason for Ulster County, Orange County, Dutchess County to have their own. Do it from the top down. Thank you. And you can hear it, right? Because it's ridiculous that we enter data and then someone else has to enter data and someone else has to enter data, and I can't see what's going on in Syracuse. Right? The crime analysis centers, especially the one now, I love them. These things are tied together. But even within themselves, there's networking issues because of sharing and so on.
A little bit of that problem's cultural, though.
There's jurisdictions within local, to be honest with you, local in the Hudson Valley, that won't share their data.
Yeah. It's cultural.
That is ridiculous.
I agree 1,000% because folks that are doing bad things.
It was quick.
Don't respect boundaries.
I just don't.
So they don't
and
care
again,
if they're
I just don't get it.
They're just doing whatever they do.
It's come a long way, though.
It definitely
30 years ago, it was.
We were siloed 30 years ago, right? We know. I mean, there was a point where, you saw a town of Ulster car driving through the city. You had to get behind it, make sure it passed right through the city, right? You joke, right? But that's the truth, right? And today, we welcome the law enforcement interaction. And how many times have we said at this table, at this radio show,
that's something we should.
You just don't see it all over the place, but that is still a struggle. When you have to call another agency.
Though, there are, with data, there are some cultural boundaries that still exist. Yeah, and I'm aware of some of it, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Why can't you break it down?
Yeah.
Listen, as soon as there's talk about information sharing, sign us on board. I have no issue. But it shouldn't be at the city level, at the town level, at the village level, at the county level. The state, we are all doing law enforcement. And clearly, the town of whatever might have 2 incidents a week that they have to enter into this thing. Or for us, we might have 35,000 calls for service, right? So you need a system that's robust enough, but it should be maintained by the state. We shouldn't have our individual IT departments, right? There's somebody up there right now in Saugerties that has to oversee the backup systems of your data.
And court administration kind of does it that way, but we still have our IT people working.
You have to.
Yeah.
The chief's not running network cable. Right?
No.
We used to.
Because the court side, the justice courts and the local courts, they do that already, theoretically. We just put out, but there's huge gaps in that. So we still have a local obligation to make sure that the phones work and the computers that we have on and the servers connected and all and safe, which is increasingly a challenge. But having that data in one place and standardized is a no-brainer. And inevitably, whatever cultural differences still exist are going to have to fall because there's a cost associated with maintaining those old boundaries economically and in productivity to seek solutions.
Every agency has to deal with getting information from a call for service. Every agency has to enter the officers that maintaining that call. Every agency has to deal with evidence that may come out of that. Every agency, police work may be different in how the mechanism is serving their jurisdiction, but at the end of the day, the information collected at that call is the same. The town of Poughkeepsie, city of Kingston, town of Saugerties, the town of Podunk, up in wherever, is doing the same thing. I don't understand it, right? This standardization, this new Professional Policing Act that they just enacted in come October. Our Deputy Chief Mike Bonds went to the training, and they're moving closer. But do you know that it's still not 100% where it should be? So when people go, how did that cop get away with that? How come that wasn't caught? Because there's no standardized mechanism. Today, as of right now, but not in August of this year, today, officers, candidates, police candidates, have to undergo psychological screening. As an accredited agency, we always did that. Always. When I came on, you came on, we always took psychological exams. there's agencies that don't do psychologicals on their officers. And now they're wearing a uniform, have a patch, carry a gun, been through the academy. But there's something, maybe, psychologically, they're a little off on, that somebody didn't catch up on. And these exams, sometimes people will be critical of whether or not they're effective, are designed for fit for duty examinations. They're designed to see if this person has the mechanism to deal with power, because admittedly an officer gets to the scene and can stop you in your tracks. You can't walk away. Hey, can I talk to you? And you go, no, I'm not talking to you. If the cop has enough, once it reaches that level, I can stop you, and I can use physical force to do it. So now you have built into that an ability to balance that level of force, that power that's given to you by the government. There's people out there that abuse it. We've seen that firsthand, nationally in some cases. So that's the difficulty that I have. Wait a minute. I just said to this guy, he can't be a cop because my psychiatrist said he shouldn't be a cop. But then you find out he's got a patch on from another jurisdiction, 50 miles west of here, 50 miles east. You're like, what is going on with this?
We had this conversation 2 Wednesdays ago when we had the sheriff, the state police on, where, and Chief Sinagra has alluded to this sometimes, where a candidate for a police officer goes through all the rigorous requirements that the city of Kingston may have, the town of Saugerties may have, Ulster County may have, but you take a small community up in the North Country or 50 miles north or west, that individual could go up there and they don't have to go through that. Right. So, I mean, I certainly agree. There has to be some standardization across all of New York State.
Yeah, and I will admit again here that New York State does a better job than other jurisdictions, other states. They are, DCJS, MPTC Council does have good standards. But the requirement for polygraph, and again, listen up, polygraph only measures whether or not they're being truthful to the questions you're asking them. If you're not asking them the right questions, they still may be hiding something. Right? So you have to have a good polygraph examiner, a good booklet that asks certain questions. Have you ever been involved in overthrowing the government? Right? That kind of question, right? Treason and so on. Illegal drug stuff, right? I mean, we sit down at command staff meetings and we talk about interview questions for candidates because our perspective of what we want to see in a cop may be different than what the civilian commission or police commission does, right? They have standardized questions they ask, but it's a struggle, right? I mean, I don't want to say I'm the only one beating my head against the wall sometimes, but I just can't understand it. I can't, right? And if it's standardized, which it's not, that's the problem. So when people say, wow, how come that happened? Well, the candidate didn't meet our standard, right? Their offer of employment was rescinded because they didn't pass a certain segment of it. They all have to take a written exam for full-time civil service. A full-time civil servant needs to take a written exam, get a score, and then they have to pass a physical fitness exam at a standard based upon their age and gender. Once that's done, we do a background investigation. And now the state has kind of upped the ante in that if if a candidate has had issues within the last 3 years of that application, that you could say they're disqualified from consideration. If it's over 3 years, they can be considered. You can weigh them back and forth, but psychological screening was just implemented across the board. Now, as the chief of police, I have to sign a document that says that they were screened.
So that's been adopted statewide
across the board. The DCJS 2214 form, which is the form that allows a person, a civilian, to be entered into the system as a police officer, now has a separate box, and attestation, I guess it's called it. I have to attest to that person has undergone psychological screening. Polygraph is not mandated yet, but medical is. So they have to go through a medical screening as well to make sure that they don't have an injury, a pre-existing injury that could prevent them. They can have injuries, they just can't be something that the doctor feels could be problematic. In some cases, that an officer will go through and have, I had it, right? I'll speak from when I came through the medical, they said, something wrong with your heart. I go, what? They go, yeah, something wrong with your heart. Okay, so they send you to a cardiologist that does the stress test, and it's genetic. It's a little blip in there. That's nothing changes. And the same thing happened to my kid. When he came through the whole testing procedure, he had medical. Doctor goes, yeah, there's something wrong with your heart. And I said to him, yeah, don't worry about it. It's genetic. You got that from your father's side. It's all good. And sure enough, went through the stress test. They put you on the treadmill and try to kill you. And no problem. Heart didn't explode. And I tell them all the time, listen, they told me that 30 years ago. If my heart's not exploded yet, you're fine. You're okay. This vein will pop like a relief valve first. So, but it is frustrating, and you can hear it in my voice. And we've been down this road before sometimes, but it really is, And I understand that there's, City of Kingston has its own civil service, which has its pros and cons to it. But why isn't there a statewide list for this?
Oh, so there's not a statewide civil service list?
There is, but every jurisdiction. So when I want to become a police officer, full-time police officer, I sign up for an exam. But it's a one single statewide exam that's given on a particular day under guidance by the Civil Service Department. But I can apply those results to the village of, or the county of Dutchess, to the city of Rochester. I may sit for that exam in the city of Kingston, but my test results can apply to other jurisdictions. I get a 95 on that exam. The city of Rochester calls me and says, hey, you want to work up here? And I go, yeah, I'll take a job. I want to be a cop. Their standard of hiring from that point forward, somewhat different than maybe the city of Kingston's. Mm-hmm. Right? There's jurisdictions that, person shows up and they got 17 traffic tickets. They've shown an inherent disregard for the V&T law of this state. I don't think they're going to make a good cop, because now you're going to give them a badge that gets them out of jail.
Sirens too.
Yeah, really? Yeah. That's what you're going to do? No, you're not. But fast forward a year and you see them in uniform somewhere, and you're like, I guess that jurisdiction had no trouble giving them a badge. I'm putting it out there, right, for the listeners.
Well, we've seen instances where officers were removed from duty because of things, and next thing you know, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're working." I'm like, "Ooh, you're working."
They get a job
somewhere else. Yeah. You're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So nobody made a phone call on that one, but I wish you the best.
Yeah, you wish you the best, right? Right? You're absolutely right. Except when you read about it in the paper and they go, "Officer from such and such," and then they all point at you, going, you cops, you look at you guys. I'm like, whoa, don't do that, right? We went through this with George Floyd. Whoa, don't point the finger at Kingston. Don't point the finger. We don't have those incidents here. We said from the beginning, we condemn that behavior. That's unacceptable behavior by any officer. And he got what it came to. Unfortunately, George Floyd is dead. But those changes as a result of that with Cuomo and EO 203 and, and I'll say it, as difficult as they were because administratively they were taxing on us, we welcomed all that. We want you to go through our files and folders. As accredited agencies, we have it done every 5 years. Every year we do a compliance audit, but every 5 years we have somebody independent come down and go through our stuff. And we go, have at it.
There's a value to that, though.
There is a huge value.
Residents can feel confident.
Yes.
That accreditation.
We've got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I would like to congratulate my husband on his retirement coming up.
Nice.
Well done.
Thank you. Couldn't have made it without you, babe.
He's getting a little emotional.
I'd like you to know that he'll be very busy, so you guys don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
They say, Teresa, right? They say behind every great man is a greater woman, right?
Yep.
So there you go.
We did this together.
I just wanted to call in and say that to him.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to you too. He's going to fix those gutters.
I'm sure you got a list about how many pages long. How many binders did you have?
Yeah, she's got me beat.
Only one page.
Both sides.
Thank
you.
So
thank you very much for calling in, and you have yourself an awesome day and Merry Christmas.
Okay, same to you. Bye.
That was good.
Yeah. Giving her credit, right? You say couldn't have done it without.
Yeah.
How many times, right? Did you get home and throw it all back on her shoulders, right?
Yeah, every day,
Every day, right? You go home and you throw it back on there and, okay, give you a hug, get a beer, sit down, watch TV, and move forward, right?
Yeah.
And then in the morning, wake you back up and get back out there. And tell Tinty no more.
So now it'll be get back out there in the yard, in the attic, in the basement, in the honeydews list.
Yeah. They say it's top 3, right? As far as stress-related changes in your life, retirement could potentially be in the top three because there is a certain level of uncertainty. Now, you know, I have a plan for retirement, whether God gives it to me or not. That's right. But he's jumping out of that plane with the chute in his hand. He doesn't even have it on yet, right? Right? We talked about it. You're just going, you know what? Let's see what's out there.
Take it with me.
Take it with you. You don't even have it on. So, you know, I know you'll land on your feet, brother.
Yeah, I'm sure
you
I
always
will.
have.
So we're at the
especially coming out of law enforcement, there's a decompression period anyway. So what kind of decision you're going to make in the next 20 years with that pressure on you? So relax, it'll come to you.
Yep.
Okay, we are at the bottom of the hour. Wish you the best of luck
Thank
and
you.
success
Well done,
for
Cliff.
whatever
well done, Cliff.
Thank you.
whatever endeavor. And like I said, the invitation is always open. The door is always open. If you happen to be floating around between 7 and 9, pop in. We'd love to have you. Chief Tinty, always
Thank
great
you
having
very
you
much.
on. And Merry Christmas to you and your
Christmas.
families. And I can't believe it's here already.
Yeah, just like that.
All right, we'll be
Thank you
back in
very
a
much.
few with Senator Michelle Hinchy.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, viewers and listeners who have been with us. Those just joining us for the last half hour, that morning flew by.
It sure did.
Welcome. 331-9255 is our call-in number, and I believe we have our New York State Senator, Michelle Hinchy. Good morning.
Hey there. How you doing?
We are doing. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Michelle, earlier in the show, I don't know if you're listening, I offered you congratulations on the Veterans event you did at the Senior Center last week.
Thank you very much. That was a great event.
Oh, my God. It was terrific. Terrific.
Yeah, we've been doing a couple of those. You know, we know one of our primary jobs, right, is to be in the community and to be a resource for our community members. And we know that our veterans, unfortunately, often are not given the, really, quite frankly, the respect that they deserve and the support that they deserve. And there's so many great organizations out there working to help veterans reintegrate, build a sense of community, there for mental health support, job connection, that we've been wanting to. We kind of have a little tour of veteran resource fairs going on throughout the district. We did our first one in Cairo, which was a great success. We've done one up in Altamont, in Albany County, and then this past week we did ours in Saugerties, which was great. And you know, we had so many different organizations. As you saw, a number of veterans come through, and it's really partially just raising awareness that so many of these groups are out there wanting to help and extend a hand if they need it.
Great. I wish I could. I had all intentions of popping in. We actually had a House Committee meeting the night before at the Legion, and of course we were speaking about that. But I don't know where the day went. I don't know where the time went, and I don't know how you're doing it, because boy, talk about active with since you've taken office. Wow.
Well, thank you. That's why I'm not with you in person today, because I'm up in Albany right now, actually, at the Guilderland Library. So. Calling in from a little bit of the central northern part of our district today.
Cool. What kind of event are they having at the library?
We have Senator Sean Ryan is the chair of the Libraries Committee in the Senate.
Okay.
And he and the Assembly chair are coming over to Guilderland. I think they're doing a library tour of certain places, and Guilderland was on their list. So I'm here, since it's my district, I'm here today. I'm meeting them around 9 o'clock, and we'll be doing a tour of this. The library here in Guilderland is new. They were just able to renovate it. So doing a tour of this library, talking with the staff, and talking about some programming, and making sure that libraries in general get the support that they need in the budget this year. You know, our libraries, especially through COVID, were such a central hub in our community, right? That's similar almost to Cantine and Saugerties, you know, where the public library or where the public internet was provided. Such a lifeline for so many people that we got to make sure that we're supporting them in a real way at the state level.
Yeah, they're libraries are an amazing resource for the community, and you know, folks who haven't engaged at some capacity are really missing out. They do so many and good things, and are such a resource for folks to find information, to have services, be present. It's pretty incredible, and to a degree, I overlooked it until the library temporarily was housed in Town Hall.
Yes.
And I was just blown away by the level of traffic that the library generated while it was in our building.
Yeah, they're great. They're really important. And again, to kind of that point, they're a little bit, they can be forgotten oftentimes, you know, but if you're not looking, you think of it just as kind of books, right, to go where you can take out a book, but there's so much more than that.
Absolutely.
And they've been really, really critical over the last 2 years. So we're excited to show our colleagues, and especially the chairs of the committees, some of the libraries that we've got over in our district.
Mm-hmm. And their value as a safety net for folks that may not be able to afford computers or internet or things of that nature, or just not know how to use them and need someone there to help, can't be overstated. They're terrific.
Absolutely.
Terrific. So that's going to be a day well spent up there.
Yep, it's great. And then, you know, later on today we're meeting with the Hudson Valley Economic Development Corporation, talking about a lot of the really interesting things that are happening in Ulster County. For instance, the new Tech City, or iPark 87, as we should now call it. And then I'll be over with the Vet to Vet Hudson Valley Center for Veteran Reintegration at their holiday lunch this afternoon too.
Oh, wow. You do have a full day.
I think every day, seven days a week since you got in office.
Yeah, we're doing a lot, you know, but it's been great. You know, we've got 2,000 miles to cover, but it's really important that people see what the state can do for them. You know, we just announced yesterday, kind of directly connecting the dots between our constituent services and the legislative part of this job. You know, just yesterday we announced a bill with Tyrone Wilson, who is the Ulster County Human Rights Commissioner. You know, we've been getting calls, but he's been getting calls too, and he called us on behalf of all the community members who had called him about Central Hudson's extreme bill estimations, right, and the fluctuations that people have been seeing over the last year in their bills. Usually someone could be paying between $50 and maybe $150, and all of a sudden their bill is jumping to $300, $400, $500, $5,000 with no understanding of why, and what those estimations are. And so we actually just put forth a bill. We wrote a bill, my team, my office and I, we wrote a bill, and we just submitted it last week to basically say to all utility companies that they can't have more than 3 estimated billing cycles a year. Right now they can do 6. That's half your billing cycles can be estimated. And their estimation formula is proprietary. So we don't know why they're jumping people's bills from $75 to $250. So we're directing the PSC, the Public Service Commission, which is the agency that oversees, the commission, I should say, that oversees utility companies, to come up with an industry standard that's transparent and public, so we can understand and people can know really where their bills are going to be estimated to, should that be a practice that utility companies continue to use.
That's some great legislation. And as you're talking, your Bianca in your office, she texted me the press release, and I was looking at that as you're speaking. And, when Central Hudson went to the every other month billing, I can understand partially the thinking behind it, where 2 months of billing for some is too much of a financial burden. But I think that Central Hudson should have given the option for individuals, businesses, either to opt for monthly billing or stay with the every other month billing that they used to do. And nobody can tell me that the monthly billing has not increased cost. There has to be, the cost would almost have to be double, I would think. And this estimating of bills, I know I've seen it with myself personally. I've seen it with the town level, with all the accounts that we have. I mean, we'll get a bill and we're saying, this is ridiculous. And then the next month you got a $500 credit.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know, but I feel very strongly that Central Hudson should have gave individuals and businesses the option if they wanted to go to the monthly billing.
Yeah, so what actually happened, the PSC, for exactly why you laid out, that, doing it kind of bi-monthly was challenging for a lot of people. It was actually the PSC that instructed utility companies to go month to month. But what's happened, to your point, is it's made it worse, right? They've gone from reading the meter every month and having, the accurate amount of money that you owe, but just being a larger bill because it's 2 months in one, to now these estimations, which are based on who knows what, and they're skyrocketing what people owe. And even though they get credited back, most people can't afford a couple $100, let alone a couple $1,000 for an estimation, especially when you're on auto pay, right? Auto pay is there to help you. It's there to help build your credit. It's so that you don't have late fees. It's there to make sure that you're not missing bills, which we know when you do can impact your credit really negatively, can give you additional debt, which no one should have to be saddled with. And so auto pay is there to help you. But if utility companies are taking these estimations that are astronomically higher than what you actually owe or what you budgeted for that month and taking it out without any warning, that's worse for people.
Yeah,
right?
I agree 100%. I agree 100% with you that, and I did misspeak because I realized it was the Public Service Commission. I did mention Central Hudson, so I apologize for that. But I agree 100% with you. I think that this has created more problems, more burdens than it's done good.
Exactly. So that's why we've cut, you got to start somewhere, and we understand there's some challenges. Hopefully, too, as utility companies are switching over to smart meters, this won't be as big of an issue because that readings will be done electronically, so it'll be easier. But in the meantime, as those are still being rolled out, we've got to do something. And so 6 months of estimated billing, far too much. We've cut that to 3. And then having this transparent clear formula, an industry standard, a formula that is an industry standard directed by the PSC for utility companies to use, as opposed to what effectively feels like willy-nilly estimation, something that people can actually look at and understand why their bills are higher or lower, is really important. So we're excited about this bill. We think it's a really important one, and it's one that came directly from community members in Ulster County and across our district, calling our office and calling other leaders in the community like Tyrone Wilson, bringing this issue forward, talking about the challenges, and it's something that we're now able to address directly as a constituent service, but something that we can hopefully fix with legislation.
Well, that's good to hear.
I think, too, there's an opportunity for anyone listening to, we are not powerless as consumers to help stabilize our energy bills. Many years ago, the energy market was deregulated, and we can contractually buy the energy portion of our bill. Central Hudson or whatever local utility you subscribe to will remain the distribution of the power, but the distributor of the power. But you can lock in a contract to buy your energy, and one of the impacts that's causing fluctuations in bills is the recent increase in energy costs has raised the charges per kilowatt. And there are a lot of mechanisms. We implemented a CCA program in Sorority for our residents. You can go into the energy market on your own and contract. There's a number of ways that you can stabilize that portion of your bill with a contract over the near term, and over time, those programs generally save some money.
I think that's an important point, and communities like Saugerties are doing some really great things in the energy space. So I think you, Freddie, and everybody for having the foresight to do that. It's really great.
We were confident over time that program would save folks who participated money, but we adopted it, and a few months later, energy prices became unstable again, and folks that are participating are benefiting from that now. But this recent trend where the bill's fluctuating, even for the estimation and distribution of power, is making it challenging for people to look at that through a clear lens. So we're not powerless as community. PSC did give us some tools as consumers to help manage these costs over time.
And I would say, too, for anybody listening, if you're experiencing these kind of astronomical fluctuations in the estimated bills, or any other issue with your utility companies in Central Hudson, call our office, call my office, one, so that we can start to, we know that there's a lot of people out there that are impacted, which is why we are doing this legislation at the state level, but it would help us get an accurate count and a more real accurate count of just how broad a problem this is, but also we can help advocate on your behalf. Oftentimes Central Hudson will say, okay, if you believe that bill is incorrect, take a picture of your meter and send it to us. If you're a renter, you may not have access to that meter to take that picture, which is a problem. But also, we know many people who have taken pictures and sent it and still not heard back. So if you're experiencing any of these issues or that one specifically, call our office, because we can follow up on your behalf and try to make sure that some of these things get righted in a more real time.
Yeah. For listeners, if you're a little bit confused, take that opportunity, because your bill actually has two components. There's an energy provider that you chose that is part of a CCA program, or that Central Hudson chose on your behalf, and the distribution charges for that power. So there's it could be daunting and a little bit confusing, even for me sometimes, and I've been exposed to this a number of times. So if there's a resource you could reach out to help get a better understanding, I think that would be helpful.
Absolutely. Call our office.
Do we announce a number?
Yes, it is 845-331-3810.
Perfect. Thank you. As always, you're always, and you do have great staff.
She does. Yeah.
I've never had a question that they couldn't answer or get an answer to fairly quickly.
Yep, our team works really hard. They're really committed. They're working really hard for the people that we serve, and they've been able to, everywhere I go, whether it was the Saugerties Christmas in the Village or any other event that we go to, it's really wonderful because I always run into people who have called our office, and I'm thankful they've called us with an issue. And, 9.5 times out of 10, we've been able to solve it, so it's really great feedback. Our team works really hard. And, again, for everybody listening, we're here to be a resource and to be helpful. And, again, even if we can't necessarily solve it, we can definitely get more information. So please use us. Please call us. And, again, that number is 845-331-3810.
And the other thing that that Bianca had sent me along, and I'm reading that now, is a legislature forum that you staged for clean water infrastructure.
We did. Just this past Friday, I chaired my first legislative forum on the state of water infrastructure across the state, but really focused on upstate New York. We know, and, Brad, as supervisor, and so many others, you can talk about this in our area, but we have water infrastructure that is sometimes 200 years old. Just this past summer in the city of Albany, they pulled out a water pipe that was built with wood, right? That is still the infrastructure that much of our communities are using in upstate. And water infrastructure has different, depending on the type and the element of the water infrastructure, has different lifelines. Some of it 25 years old, some of it 50 years old, some of it even can last 100 years, right? That's incredible. But we have lines that are at 100 or more, sometimes 100 years past its usable life. And that's asbestos lead pipes, that's lead pipes, those are pipes that are breaking. It's drinking water, it's wastewater, it's stormwater. All aspects of our water infrastructure need to be overhauled. And it's estimated that just in the Hudson Valley alone, just in my district, in the 5 counties that I represent, the need for water infrastructure is about $80 million. Wow. I think in the Hudson Valley, it's over $900 million. If you look at a study that was done in conjunction with DOH, the Department of Health, and DEC, that was done 10 years ago. It was a study overlooking 20 years. So we are now 10 years in that study. But 10 years ago, they estimated that the cost to replace all of the old water lines in the state of New York was something like $80 billion.
Wow.
We are getting a lot of money from the federal government, which is amazing. It's the first time ever, really, that we've gotten so much money from the federal government for water lines. But it's something about $4 billion, 4.2, and it'll be more, but we're starting at about $4 billion. That's incredible. But knowing that our need just for New York is significantly higher than that, we have to take a real stand and get a real understanding of what this looks like so that we can put some serious funds behind this to upgrade our infrastructure. That will not only help with jobs, right, and making sure that our communities are vibrant, but also so that people have clean water. It's a right. And my last point on this that I'll say, voters overwhelmingly in this past election voted for ballot Proposition 2, which is adding to the state constitution the right to clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment. And now it's upon us to make sure that we can deliver clean water. And if our infrastructure is that old and falling apart, we have to really make sure that we're investing in this to make sure that we're delivering.
It seems like such an obvious, plain thing, but it's definitely a challenge. The costs of those improvements are expensive, and the resources to do that with have not always been there. So it's certainly something that's at the front of all of our minds as we plan improvements for the future. It's a real thing.
It is. Well, and we can't, the cost of it is much higher than many of our small towns are able to afford themselves, right? Especially if a water line breaks. We're seeing this in New Baltimore, in Greene County. A water line that served about 30 homes broke under the New York State Thruway. Not an ideal place to break, let alone in the middle of the pandemic. But the cost to fix it is over $200,000, right? And that's more money. The town had no idea this was going to break. They didn't know the state of the water lines, and they don't have just a casual $300,000 lying around to fix this emergency. And so then that cost falls on the homes who use that line, which is more money than any of them have, squirreled away to replace an unforeseen water line breakage. So this is a state problem. We have to support our communities and our municipalities in upgrading this infrastructure because it's been ignored for generations.
Yeah, you're right on. That's perfect analysis of the situation. There are a lot of times those improvements were built with a local district being created to support a bond for the installation, and those districts are fairly small. So it's not even like the Saugerties government or the government in New Baltimore is going to fund that improvement. The district that's benefited from that line is likely the ones that have to fund that repair, and that may never be affordable. So there needs to be programs that provide assistance to keep those homes viable.
When you take that kind of cost, and you mentioned 30 homes that were served by it, for those 30, that small circle, I don't think anybody could afford that.
No, and actually the comptroller has formulas that define those affordable. I mean, we would all disagree with what's affordable, but the comptroller has formulas that they assign. And if you can't meet the matrix that would describe a project as affordable, they won't even approve it, which is appropriate. You don't want to overly burden the residents to a point where those homes are not sustainable because the cost for a needed infrastructure is way too high.
Right. And in the meantime, we can talk about the immediate emergencies with waterline breakages, but, there's a lot of grant programs out there that support municipalities with clean water infrastructure. The problem is the grant process is really hard, and we also can't expect what we see and what we know is that our smaller towns, don't have a grant writer on staff, of course, the terms are limited, people are, the amount of years you may choose to run for one term and then not run again, these are part-time jobs. People have full-time jobs on top of being town board members or supervisors or on the town council, the city council. There's so many other elements here that expecting towns to go through the grant process is really difficult, quite frankly, as we've seen in execution. And so there's money out there, but oftentimes communities that really need it are not the ones that are getting the funding. Yeah. So the point of our hearing was to really identify the problems, both of these, the emergency piece and the grant piece being one of them, and so we can go back and look at other ways that we can get clean water money that we have, both at the state level and the federal level, that runs through the state. How do we better get that money into the hands of municipalities that need it so that we can really start to get a handle on this issue?
Yeah, there's a continuity point that you nailed right on. If you're going to engage a process to do a $3 or $4 million water distribution improvement, that's not going to happen in 6 months. That's going to take a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years minimum. And if the term of the individual that initiated that is only 2 years, and that individual does not get reelected or chooses not to run, that project may fall to the wayside, and all that work, the preparatory work, would expire. Which is, elections have consequences, and we all should be more thoughtful and celebrate that privilege that we all have as residents to vote. But projects like that, especially in small communities, are challenging if there's not that continuity of commitment to see that project through.
Absolutely. So we were excited to hold that forum. We had about 8 other senators from all over the state, bipartisan, join us. Democrats and Republicans joined us to listen. We had 4 panels of testimony, and it was really a great day. I think we learned a lot. We heard a lot that affirmed the challenges that we're seeing every day and just talking to our constituents. And, I think it elevated for others the need to really be thinking about this, especially as we go into the 2022 budget cycle, which will be starting in January.
Well, Senator Hinchey, we are just about out of time. Thank you for taking time out of your busy, hectic schedule Always love having you. And, we have 5 Wednesdays this month, and I'm going to make contact to your office and see what your availability might be. And maybe we can get you on for another half hour, and you can kind of summarize your first year in office and what's ahead for the next year.
That sounds great. Would love to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank
Fred
you.
Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties. Thank you, Lawrence. Most importantly of all, thank you, listeners and viewers. Right back here next week, same place, same time.